All right, guys, we're back in the hangar here today, and I have a special guest with me, and you probably know if you watched my last video, but today we're going to be putting on this beautiful thing. And I've had lots of people reach out to me. As you guys probably know, Rich is on the Facebook page for Challenger, and if you don't know, then he's been making posts about these, and a lot of people reached out and they had a few questions, and we are here with Rich himself. How you doing, Rich?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good. So for starters, I'm gonna ask him a couple questions about it, and then you guys are gonna watch us put it on the plane. We're gonna have to make a few adjustments. I'm not gonna show you all that because that would totally be boring. But one thing I am gonna do, and I was telling Rich about it, we're actually gonna take the stock, because out of all of you who messaged me, you guys know who you are, so I'm not gonna call you out. Everybody asked the same thing. Will you tell us the difference between the weight of that one and the weight of this one? And I happen to have this little food scale that does have a broken screen, but I promise you it works. I tested it out, so it still works adequately, adequately enough for what we're doing here anyways. So, yeah, so anyways, that's what we're gonna do. So Rich, you mind answering a few questions about this thing?
Yep.
Here, let me get a better angle at you here.
So I bought a Challenger in 2019, and it had a wheel system like that. I can't remember the name that's on it, but a lot of people have asked me about it. Where I got it, and all I know is that it's no longer available anymore, and so many people were asking me about it that I just decided to start making them. I don't do it for a living. I have a product development company that I do, so it's sort of a hobby for me, but I bought a couple of tools to make it a lot easier, like the actual forks here. If I had to drill these out individually on my milling machine and even do the outer profile, it would be a pain in the butt. So I bought a CNC plasma cutter, so I can cut that out much faster. It's all 4130, except for the springs. So it's 4130 that I TIG weld, and I recently got a powder coater, and so I can now powder coat them. And then this is high density polyethylene. And when you actually put pressure on it, and the springs are strong, so I can't really do it by hand, but once you've got weight in the airplane, it flexes. These parts this whole thing kind of rotates, so you have to have a slot up in here, not just a hole drilled through it. And that can be a problem just for drilling it. So I actually made a fixture up for my plasma cutter where I can cut the tubing right on there and cut all that out before I TIG weld it together. So the bolts that are in here right now, I ordered the wrong size bolts just before I came down to see John. So yes, these are a little bit long. They don't need to be.
Yeah, so we're gonna cut these. We're actually afterwards we'll cut them off, so there's less drag there.
And then one of the things that I get asked, and people say, can you do it for a 5-inch wheel? Can you do it for a 4-inch wheel? Well, I really don't know what a 4-inch or a 5-inch wheel is. And I've never owned a standard, if we get on to the existing, I've never owned this sort of the stock assembly here. So I didn't even know like the outer dimensions and stuff like that. But what I'm concerned with, if I'm gonna make one up for somebody and they have an odd size wheel, is I need to know the width so that I get the fork width correct. And then I need to know essentially the radius from the center of the wheel up so that this distance is correct. This one's gonna be a little bit longer than needed because I thought the tire was taller. I've got 3 different wheels at home, 3 different tires at home that are all different sizes.
And you were saying it could be adjusted on there too, right? So we could actually go to the next one.
Yeah. So the way what I did was I ended up putting a couple of holes in here so that this axle bolt could actually be up here or up here, assuming you have the clearance from the cross tube here. But the other thing that it'll do is because you're changing the leverage on the moment arm, if you go up further, it's gonna require a little bit more force to flex that. So maybe with 2 people in, it's better in this position, and with this you've got more of a lever arm. It might be better for 1 person in that. Yeah. And the other thing is, once that's installed up on the cross tube, I have 21-inch Tundra tires on my Challenger. So the one I made for myself has a longer cross tube on it because I need to be further down in order to have my angle of attack on the wing when I'm on the ground in the proper location. So I don't drill the hole that, there's an aluminum tube that comes down. On my plane, the bolt hole is right here on the outside, and and it's going in. It's inside. It's going that direction. In John's plane, it's inside, and it's going in that
Here, we'll go
that
look at it.
axis.
Yeah.
So that's why I haven't drilled it, so that people can adjust, you know, how far they want it, up inside or down. And then, you know, depending on what they have for, one of the Challenger one we looked at had 2 bolt holes outside.
And it's a bigger tire too. And so the other main question, so the first question I got a bunch of was the weight. We're gonna do that in a minute here in the video. The second one, Rich, is have you tried to incorporate a fairing onto that yet?
I have a set of wheel pants at home that are too small for one thing. So I probably need to go with a larger wheel pant, and I'm gonna try to do it.
Okay. So that's a to be determined situation.
Yeah, it would be a fairly wide, because this whole assembly has to go up inside of it, obviously.
So I think to answer it, you haven't actually done one yet. But
no, I tried to fit it in the wheel pants that I have. And the wheel pants I have were for a KR2S that I have.
Okay. So question, I wonder if people end up ordering these and these take off, I wonder if you can't produce a fairing somehow.
I probably could, because what I would do is the fairing just has to have a hole in the top of it so that it would slide over.
Yeah, and have flexibility for the up and down motion too.
Right. Right.
So I'm gonna leave the camera running a little bit while we do work, but reality is you guys wanna see it going down the runway. It doesn't look bad right now, but our density altitude is well over 3,000 feet. And we're gonna be running out of daylight, so I'm probably not gonna do a big pre-flight or anything, but I will take this down the runway and we'll have a camera on that wheel. And I'm gonna give you guys just like I was telling Rich, I'm gonna give you my fair assessment of it, whether I like it or not. I'm sure I will. I do wanna point out, you guys see that I am on this beautiful grass strip here in East Texas, Vacamoo TA37. I am not getting this because of this airport. This is gonna be simply because I typically go other places. For example, the last time I went down to Aero Estates, I hit the center of the runway and it was a really hard. And actually, and I don't know if this is gonna fix this or not, but if you look at my front nose gear, it's actually tilted ever since that happened. Places like Reclaw. So I'm not doing it because of my home airport. I'm doing it because I like to go other places. So I just wanted to put that caveat out there. Our airport is beautiful. So
and I like the gear that I have on mine, because I have a paved runway at my airport, but it's old and has lots of cracks in it.
Oh yeah.
And was basically rattling the fillings out of my teeth.
Yeah, well, I'm excited because I know that feeling. So I'm gonna go ahead and set some cameras up, and you guys will kind of see some B-roll of us working on it. And then we're gonna come back and do a little test taxi. Really, the taxi, and it's not a flying thing; it's a taxiing thing. So Rich came all the way down from New Hampshire because he had some other things going on. I know that was a question people got too, like, oh, he came all the way down here to do that. This was a side note. I wish that I had the pull to get a guy like Rich to come all the way from New Hampshire, but no, he's actually coming out here for another reason, and he graciously offered to come and sponsor a video and help me put this on. And so now I'm gonna act important on the camera and have him do all the work. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. All right, here we go. Probably have seen from the B-roll, my stock fork compared to that one this one is shorter and that one is longer. So we're still gonna put it on because when I'm taxiing, I feel like my angle of it, I'm kind of nose down anyways. So I'm actually wondering if this is going to be, make my angle of attack or make it feel like I'm a little higher up. Shouldn't hurt anything. Can you think of anything that would hurt? I can't, no. So we're gonna weigh it right now. We almost forgot, and actually we did forget. We put that wheel on there, but I blame Rich. Just because he's the guest. Okay, so we're zeroed out. And again, the scale does work. I don't know if you guys can see it because it has a broken screen, but you see I'm putting pressure on there. So my stock one weighs 111, 1 pound, 11 ounces. It is pretty light.
Yeah. This is gonna be like 6, I think.
And this one is 4.6.
4.6.
Yeah, so, we're adding a few pounds. But you know what that is, guys? That's less than lunch. So
3 pounds.
3 pounds. If you just don't eat lunch that day,
breakfast, yeah.
it's breakfast. So hey, that was the most common thing people wanted to know. Now you know. So what was it? 111 to 4.6, right? So, all right, so we had to So this particular one has to be cut down. I have to take about 1 inch of it off because, again, guys, this is all a prototype. He was basing it off of the one he had, my stock one, but there's actually a spring. I don't know if it's stock or not. Yeah, it's got this groove through it, and then there's actually a little spring mechanism down in there. So down in the comments, tell me if yours looks like this or if it just has a hole in it. But again, he's going to be able to modify them for anything. And even this one going on mine right now, even though we're just going to take that back off so we can cut it. And I'm going to do the taxi test, but my angle of attack is going to be really high and the nose isn't going to come down very far. But that's okay because I want to get you guys a video on what it looks like when it's taxiing. So this will give us a good idea. But it'll end up being, as you can see, it's really tall on my plane. So we're going to cut the inside of the shaft and then get the bolt to line up that direction. So a little bit different. Obviously, it's an experimental, so you have to experiment with it. And just like with him doing this company, you know, that's why he has multiple holes. So we actually have it on the second hole. So I'll take it home, I'll cut it. You guys aren't going to see all that. But yeah, so in the next clip, we're going to go for a taxi test, see what it looks like. All right, clear prop.
There are a few bumps right in this area because we have golfers, little golfer holes action. Yeah, the nose wants to pop up on me. The funny thing is that I don't even have a bolt in there. We put a screwdriver through there for this test taxi. And I don't have a mic, so we're just listening and looking. We're going to look both ways. I'm listening. Nobody is talking. 123. All right, let's see if we can get some motion on this thing. I don't know if you guys can see it. I can definitely tell you that my feet are not feeling as much as they normally do. Not that there's a lot in this runway, but it is still a grass runway. I mean, it's not paved, so there's going to be little bumps and these little golfer holes and stuff. There's some bouncing for you. I have the stick back too, so I think that's gonna, let's put the stick forward and see if we can keep the nose on the ground. I don't know, what do you guys think? Leave your comments below what you think of this thing. Like I had said in building up to this, or in this video, I have had lots of people reach out to me about this nose gear. Is it worth it? You know, unfortunately, I'm not going to 100% know until I have it down. But I will tell you, I'm used to my feet being way more feeling stuff, and I'm not feeling it right now. So I'm feeling it more from my mains than I am my nose. A little higher speed so you can see that wheel motion. All right, I have the stick buried back for a soft field, but I'm gonna do a nose down now. Keep that nose in there so we can see what it's doing.
Okay, so I just got done. Rich, let's talk about, because obviously mine has to be customized, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so my mount is a little bit different. The tube that comes down and the bolt goes in, yours is inside. I have higher tires on mine, but ultimately my goal is to get it. If I knew what the standard was, because I don't have a standard non-suspension nose fork on mine, I want to make it as easy as possible for people to install. You know, that's the whole deal there, and have it work. You know.
So, question: I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Obviously, one of the things I got was they thought the price point was high. Let's talk about that really quick. And for that price point, would you be able to make an alteration that they request?
Yes, yeah, I can do. There's a couple of things we talked about is actually having them moved back a little bit further. Right now, you know, low volume, you know, handcrafting these things, it does take quite a bit of time. Shipping on the 4130 is expensive, and the 4130 itself, you know, whether I get it from Wix or whether I get it from Aircraft Spruce. I bought the plasma cutter so that I could expedite manufacturing of it, so I can get it down shorter. But you know, I'm hand building them at this point. The only issue is, you know, I do this for fun, and I'm doing it for other people for fun too. Eventually, I might just get tired of doing it, and then nobody's going to be able to get any.
Yeah, true.
But if you got TIG welding skills, you know, maybe I'll sell all the parts and you can TIG weld it together yourself. Argon's expensive, a tank of argon, you know, to go through as I'm TIG welding it. That adds up. So, and there's little oil light bushings in there, and I got the high density polyethylene bushings that are in there. I have to put on my lathe and do that. So if you start to build one, you'll find out there's a lot more work to it than you think. So,
And another
I'm not
question,
trying to gouge people on the price, because I don't do this for a living. You know,
Yeah,
so I don't.
and he did tell me kind of like what the price of some of this stuff was, and it's really insane, guys. So let's. One thing I forgot to ask, that was one other question I had was, and you told me this earlier, but I don't remember. How many pounds of pressure are we dealing with in those?
On the springs?
Yeah, on the springs.
Each of the springs is about 300 pounds force to deflect it 1 inch. Sounds like a lot, but you know, if you were coming in landing at 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour, I don't want those to completely compress, and then you go up against a hard stop on there. So it's got to have some resilience to it.
And then, what did you think about what you witnessed when I taxied it? Because you really haven't seen it from that
I
perspective.
could see
before.
it. Yeah, I could see it. You know, compressing. The angle of attack is a little high, so I think if the angle of attack was lower, it would be compressing a little bit more, and you'd get a little bit more of a cushion.
Yeah.
So that's why cutting the stem tube down on yours to get it down. Again, I have 20 and 21 inch tires on mine, and I actually have a longer tube coming out. It's almost not as long as like the nose wheel on floats, which is really long.
Yeah.
But it's a bit longer in order for me to get the proper angle of attack. Off-field landing, and I tore all the main gear off, so I've rebuilt my mains with suspension built into it, similar to the Excalibur. So I'll just mention that real quick. I took I basically cut these right off here, and I made brackets. So I have a hinge point up here, and then I made a custom bracket that goes up and then over.
Yeah.
And then under here, I had to modify this. I have a hinge point here on top of this tube.
Yeah, it's dark down there.
And actually it goes underneath. It goes underneath the tube. And then I have bungees wrapped around there.
You know what, guys? I have a photo of it he sent me. So if you're cool with it, I'll throw the photo in there. Yep. Very cool. And for the record, Mike at Challenger, if you're watching this, sorry, buddy. They're experimental. People make some changes.
Yep.
All right, so now I'm going to give you guys my opinion. Obviously, I talked a little bit in the plane, but I am definitely going to be doing the alterations that Rich and I talked about. It's definitely going to be staying on. The biggest difference I found, and obviously this isn't going to be 100% to everybody's experience because mine is way high. If you had the tools in your hangar, you would cut it down and do whatever. But I didn't feel the play in my rudder pedals that I normally would, because normally when I'm taxiing, that's where I feel in the rudder pedals, and I didn't feel that this time. So the nose wheel is definitely doing its job, and by now in the video, you've already seen it in action when I was taxiing. So I'm gonna put, what's the name, what's your website? Let's talk about that really quick. What's your website?
I just recreated it. It's greasedlandings.com.
Grease Landings. I'm gonna have that down in the description. If you're on Facebook and you're watching this video and you've decided you wanna get one, then reach out to Rich on Facebook. I think it's a great idea. And to that, the wheel itself would actually help the airframe just in the less impact on the nose. There's not really a lot in there, and with that on there, I feel like the front of the plane's taking less impact. And I like to go land sketchy places, like Rec Law and places like that. So leave your comments on what you think on it down below. I know there are some people who are probably gonna be like, oh, you don't wanna add the weight and this and that. But guys, like I said in the video, it's literally a meal. That's the difference in it, to have that comfort. So I will make a follow-up video when I have it reduced. I'll probably make a short, so subscribe if you want to see that when I do it. I want to get my buddy here and have him look at it with me, and we'll see how we can shorten it up and do some things. And actually, before I leave, sorry, I know I'm rambling, but another thing Rich was talking about was when I shorten it up, it's actually going to make the angle different because it's angled that way. So when I shorten it up, the wheel's actually going to be under the front more. So I'm thinking an inch here will probably equal a couple inches in the back. So, all right, make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you guys on the next one.